Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Vieira. I'm a funeral director at Bowers Funeral Home, and it's my honor to welcome you all to this celebration of life for Robert Bruce Borthwick. We're here not only to remember his passing, but to honor the incredible journey that he took and the lasting impact that he made on his family, friends, and everyone he encountered. Rob was born on September 20th, 1948 in Vancouver, British Columbia, and passed away 1 week after his 77th birthday on September 27th, 2025 in Vernon. He was a loving, caring, and kind husband, son, brother, father, and grandfather, as well as a highly respected and integral educational pillar in our community. I'm not at all surprised to see the high amount of support that we have here today. Over the last few weeks, I've had the opportunity to get to know Robert through the kind words that have been shared with me by the many tributes and speakers that we'll be hearing from today. To get things started, I would first like to bring up Alice Borthwick, who will be reading some scripture for us all.
A reading from the book of Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot that which is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, and a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace. God has made everything beautiful in its time, but man cannot fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for men than to be happy and to do good while they live.
Thank you, Alice. Remembering Rob's Early Years by brothers Doug and Tom. Our parents, Dorothy and Bruce Borthwick, raised 3 sons, Doug, Tom, and Robert, Robert being the youngest. We would like to tell you about our years growing up together. Our parents were born in Saskatchewan, Dad in Saskatoon and Mom in Regina. Like many prairie people, they migrated westward to Calgary, Mom at a young age with her family, and Dad later on as a young man. There they met, and in 1942, during World War II, they were married. Dad had joined the Army and was soon posted to Ontario, while Mom stayed in Calgary. Doug was born in Calgary in 1943, and Tom a year later in 1944. Near the end of the war, Dad was posted to Victoria, and Mom, Doug, and Tom joined him there. After the war, Dad was discharged from the Army and was offered government encouragement to attend university. In 1946, we moved from Victoria to Richmond so Dad could attend the University of British Columbia. Housing had been made available in a former Army family housing complex of modest row homes. The families who found themselves living there fondly referred to it as the camp. In 1948, in the middle of Dad's studies, Rob was born. Doug was then 5.5 years old, and Tom 4. Rob was definitely the baby of the family. Mom said she gave Rob a bottle every time he fussed, so he would not disturb Dad while he was studying. And Rob's body grew faster than his legs, and he did not start walking until he was 2 years old. Rob occupied a crib in Mom and Dad's bedroom. Doug and Tom occupied the second bedroom, each of us sleeping in a simple wood-framed twin bed that Dad had obtained for us. Dad continued his studies, graduating in electrical engineering in 1951, while Mom learned how to handle 3 rambunctious boys. Dad was quickly able to find a good engineering job post-graduation, and very soon after was able to put a down payment on an old farmhouse on an acre of land in Richmond, not far from the old home, the camp. We settled into our new home, Mom and Dad in the smaller bedroom, and Doug and Tom and Robert in the second, much larger bedroom. Dad obtained a similar wood-framed bed for Rob and lined up all 3 beds like in a dormitory. Here we would spend our school years together. Our young lives were spent roaming our neighborhood, making friends or foes with the neighboring kids and their parents. Our summer holidays included visits from grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins from Saskatoon and Calgary, as well as trips to visit them. As these early years went by, we developed our own independent lives. Rob attended the newly opened Cook Road Elementary and then Richmond High School. He was in the accelerated program and graduated in 1965, 2 years ahead of his peers. While in high school, Rob became interested in the game of soccer, his family always cheering him on from the sidelines. After high school graduation, Rob entered UBC, and during his summer break in 1967, Rob and Doug rode a train across Canada to Montreal for Expo 67. While there, Rob revealed a sense of adventure and urged to explore. He suggested hitchhiking to Quebec City for the day. We spent a morning of futility by the side of the highway before giving up and taking a bus the following day. In 1962, we had moved to the dream home Dad had built for our young family on a half-acre property, also in Richmond. Mom and Dad's home and big backyard became a place for extended family gatherings. Rob and Liz and their 3 sons would often drive from Salmon Arm to visit family in Richmond. They would stay with Mom and Dad at the family home, giving our parents the joy of having a second crop of 3 rambunctious young boys causing havoc. We're grateful for the time we were able to spend with Rob and Liz and their children and grandchildren throughout our lives. Rob will be missed. I believe Kassan will be reading on behalf of Tom. And if we could please silence our cell phones, that would be lovely.
My name's Kassan. I'm Tom Borthwick's oldest daughter, and I'm going to read what he wrote. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tom, one of Rob's 2 older brothers. We and our families are devastated by the passing of Rob. He was one of the happiest people I've ever known, and his smiling face and infectious laugh will be sorely missed. Rob was 4 years younger than I, and growing up, I don't remember hanging out with him that much. I was into sports, which took up most of my spare time. I do remember when he turned 6 years old, though, because in our family, when you turned 6, you got your first 2-wheeled bike. I don't remember bikes back then in the 50s having training wheels or no pedals like they do now. So, when Rob got his new bike, my brother Doug and I were to guide him on his first ride. We lived at 864 Westminster Highway in Richmond, at the time, which had deep ditches on both sides of the road. Vancouverites used to joke that we lived in Ditchment. Anyway, we got him on the bike, and we're guiding him along. I don't think we even got to the neighbor's bridge before a car honked behind us and Rob veered to the right and into the ditch. Doug and I were stunned for a few seconds, but then realized that Rob was struggling in the ditch with the bike, so we had to jump in to rescue him. Of course, we got blamed for his misfortune, and of course, Rob claimed that we pushed him into the ditch. And he stuck with that story for his whole life. I don't know who to believe, though, really. We miss him so much. His booming laugh, his smiling face and eyes, he was the best of us. He was the best of us. And we miss him so much and always will.
Thank you. Well written, guys. Thanks for sharing. Could I please have Rob Johnston come to the front to share some thoughts about his friend?
I first met my friend Rob Borthwick in September of 1977 at the Moho Pub with some friends. My family and I had just returned from 2 years in Australia. Rob was immediately interested in my experiences and impressions, as only a seasoned traveler would be. His extraordinary memory and knowledge of geography made his questions very insightful. The first thing to come out of that meeting was a foursome. Roger Marriott, Jim Kennedy, Rob and I to play in next Wednesday's men's night at the golf course. That foursome, along with Bob Wilkins, played together for close to 30 years. Then Rob and I played with other partners at men's night until 3 years ago. The second thing that came out of that meeting was the creation of a special group of friends. Added to the foursome were Peter Buddha, Eric Walters, and Clyde Tucker. That group met at the Legion every Friday for almost 50 years, till COVID came along and shut all that down. Then it became a Skype meeting. This group would wager on all kinds of sports, talk about travel, politics, food, catch up on our families, and we always celebrated each other's birthdays. I regret that I missed his last one. Even sometimes when celebrated birthdays, we invited our wives. We became extremely close friends. Excuse me. As we grew older, we cared for and helped each other as best we could. We walked Roger when his Parkinson's was getting worse. We cut down Clyde's orchard when it was required by law. We supported Eric when he lost his sons and wife and was losing his sight. Through all of this, Rob was the youngest and became the chief helper. He pruned and sprayed Peter's fruit trees and was one of the first to drive Peter to dialysis. Rob was a very caring and thoughtful friend. With a name like Robert Bruce Borthwick, you would expect him to be a good Scotsman, both thrifty and also generous. He always did renovations or repairs himself. Rob shopped for bargains, and he could always tell you where the best price for Hawkins cheesies was that week. He would use every last apple off his trees, making sauce and desserts and apple crisps. And he'd pick apples and cherries and give them away just to see that they didn't go to waste. I have a picture of Rob in my mind. standing in the sunshine, big smile on his face, with his faded blue shorts and his loose $20 bills in his pocket, offering to buy the first round. Rob had a big interest in cooking, as well as applesauce and dozens of other desserts. He was a master with a barbecue. He made the best Yorkshire puddings ever, and he loved his pink salmon. He and Liz made chocolates and special nuts at Christmas, and of course, gave them away as gifts. Fall is here, and winter's coming. Rob and I spoke 3 weeks ago, about resuming to our regular Tuesday winter walks with his new knee on the trails at South Canoe, and our occasional snowshoeing days when the sun shone. Spending time with an old friend was a great pleasure for both of us. Rob was a man of many interests and abilities. His interests were such that he had a very wide circle of friends. I lost a very special friend that Saturday, and many of you will feel like you've lost a special friend too. My wife, Liz, and I are heartbroken for Liz and her family. If there is a, if there is a golf course in the great beyond, it's comforting to know that Rob, Jim, Roger, and Peter make a very compatible foursome. Farewell, my friend.
Thank you, Rob. To follow this up, I would now like to call to the front another one of Robert's best friends, Bob Wilkins.
I've had a hard time writing this. I still find it hard to believe that my best friend is gone. I'm sure many of you feel the same way. He was everyone's best friend. He was a regular guy with a big heart, and everyone loved him. I first met Rob at the golf course. Where else? We had just moved to town, and so I went out to explore the course. When I came back, all excited to have met another teacher about my age. I'm a week older, who had also just gotten married in England. So we hit it off. Some of our best times were on the golf course. I was fortunate to be in his regular foursome for over 45 years, both on the big course and lately on the executive course. I only regret that I wasn't there for his last game, which was his best of the year. He always gave me a hard time for coaching the golf team at school because I could leave during the day while he had to stay and teach. And then he went and coached the girls' soccer after school. He had a kind and generous heart and was always willing to lend an extra hand or give extra help at school and in the community. Most of his students could tell you stories of his help with both academics and athletics. And his friends could give many examples of how he pitched in when necessary without being asked. So when I first moved to the high school, we purchased a new home, and then I got sick. So Rob and his friends arranged to help us move. Rob and Liz couldn't make it for the day of the move, so they, unbeknownst to us, bought pizza, came over and helped pack the kitchen for us the night before. And then they arranged the next day when we went out for breakfast, everybody with their trucks came. They broke into the house, loaded them up, took them all over to our new place, and we were moved into our new house, and I was sitting on the couch watching the football game by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was all done. It was amazing. He had many friends and many groups, but what made Rob's friendship special was how much he kept in contact with everyone. He worked at his social contacts, and you can see the results. He loved to party, or at least get everyone together. There were lots of shared dinner parties, card games, the tacky swap-a-gift Christmas party for adults, the Santa Claus party for the kids, and also the famous back-to-school corn roast. Life was for celebrating. Rob was a participator, taking an active role in everything. He had many interests and was involved in them all. I won't get all of them, but examples, Children's Festival. He and his family ran one of the games at the festival for years and years. As Robin mentioned, his sports lottery group, the Legion. He also had a poker group, another lot of friends that he also did for 30, 40 years. Gardening. He planted his garden every year and spent lots of time taking care of his fruit trees as well as many others. With Rob's avid curiosity, it was only natural that he loved to travel. He traveled extensively before he came to Salmon Arm, and afterwards, he was always interested in everyone else's trips. He took a year off and went traveling with his family, introducing his boys to the wide world he loved. We were fortunate to have them visit us in our home in Australia while we were there. They loved the break from their motorhome. Our boys had great fun showing them the joys of Australian life. School, took them to school, and the beach. When we returned, we also had many good Aussie parties celebrating Australian Independence Day and swapping all our experiences. So it was a good way to brighten up January. After retirement, we had several reciprocal exchanges visits down south in Palm Desert and Green Valley. What a lot of golf courses. He was a wonderful family man and enjoyed spending quality time with his boys. He spent many hours in the car traveling to visit family and lately helping with the grandkids. It was a great help with household chores. One of Rob's favorite things was to vacuum daily. I hope Liz will remember how to turn the vacuum cleaner on. He was also a great shopper and knew where to get the best deals in town. Words can't do justice to Rob's life. I know I won't be alone in missing this kind, lovable friend. Remember him fondly and do something he would like you to do, something adventurous for yourself and something special for someone else. Thank you.
Well said, Bob. Thank you. We're going to switch gears and listen to Joanna Hibbard play Going Home by Dire Straits on the piano. Round of applause. Well done. I would now like to call to the front another one of Robert's professional colleagues and lifelong friends, Rudy Egenhorst.
Eulogies are not my favorite way of speaking, so I had to have some help from my wife. But we do go back about 50 years, and so there's a lot to say. As a dedicated teacher, Rob was deeply committed to his students' well-being. His classroom was a place where learning flourished through compassion, respect, and encouragement. And I was always happy to walk into his classroom and observe this in action. He believed that teaching was not only about imparting knowledge, but also about nurturing confidence and kindness in every student he met, including my own kids. Beyond his teaching duties, Rob gave generously of his time and spirit, whether he was coaching soccer, supervising after-school dances, or cheering on students from the sidelines. He brought enthusiasm, patience, and joy to every activity. Although his initial supervision of school dances was more an effort to impress and woo the cute little number that had just arrived on staff, Liz. Clearly, his efforts paid off as Rob and Liz's relationship became permanent and their family and friends grew around them. My children recount the positive influence he had on them as either his students or homeroom teacher, and talked about the under the cover snide little comments he would make that were hilariously funny but missed by most students. To his colleagues and friends, Rob was a source of steadfast support and genuine companionship. His gracious nature and sincere interest in the thoughts and experiences of others made every conversation meaningful. He had a rare ability to make everyone feel welcome and valued. Over the years, we developed a close group of friends with Rob and Liz and celebrated together at Christmas, New Year's, group birthdays, and often just for the sake of getting together. It was always wonderful to see Rob's face light up when he greeted someone, just as that picture sort of shows. It's so typically Rob. And he would greet you with a big hug. Paula can recount the many times that he would pause in a conversation and ask, "What's new in life?" I think this was part of the magic of Rob. He stopped and saw everyone what we thought was important to him. I can't end this talk without a brief mention of one memorable New Year's Eve party. We had celebrated New Year's together many times, but this one was special because it was the millennium, and we all thought we were probably going to die, but the next day. We had set up fireworks and a potato cannon on the driveway. And by some error, because Rob had just bought a brand new car, a Lada, and by some strange error, one of the fireworks toppled over and shot directly at the Lada. We held our breath and waited. Luckily, nothing happened. Cheers went up. Champagne and cigars were issued, and I think the Lada survived probably another couple of years before it fell apart. As well, Rob and Liz hosted many Christmas dinners. All of us had family and we spent the actual day with, but this was all about friendship and belonging to one special group. We played Grab-A-Gift again and again every year. We caught up on the events that were important to each of us as individuals. We laughed a lot at our own foibles. Rob presided from his easy chair or from the head of the table. Liz was always beside him. I think God shone on all of us on those nights, and the Christmas spirit touched us all. In recent years, Rob, myself, and several of the guys here had a monthly get-together over lunch. We had sailed together, we taught together, we'd skied together, and we partied together in what best way old people do, always home by 8:30. So these lunches were important. We caught up with food, beer, and conversation, and we maintained bonds of friendship. Rob's legacy will live on in countless students, friends, and fellow educators whose lives he touched. His kindness, his integrity, and his gentle humor will always be remembered by myself and those that he touched. Each of us here no doubt has a personal story about he touched their lives. Rob, you will be greatly missed. It's been a privilege knowing you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy. At this time, I would like to call up Robert's three sons, James, Richard, and Daniel.
Kind, loving, fair, curious. These are the traits my dad had in full. Kind, he respected everyone and always listened. He had often used questions to help people better understand situations or circumstances, or to help explain to others. Loving. He cared for everyone around him. That was his family, his friends, his students, or his teams. He always wanted everyone to strive for their best. And he brought the best out in everyone. I believe he had a deep sense of pride for others when they strived. Fair. I believe everyone was an equal in my dad's eyes. In any incident, it was the search for truth that was important, not how someone could try to spin it. This showed itself well when sports were played, when he coached teams, and when he taught his students. Curious. I believe this was the most significant of all my dad's attributes. My dad's curiosity brought him all over the world, shaped his scientific mind, and continued his search for learning and education. My dad once told me when I was young that when he was in Africa, the locals loved travelers but disliked tourists. And they define that to him as this: a traveler is one who goes to a place to experience the people and their culture. A tourist is one who goes to a place and brings their culture with them. My dad was the former. He loved traveling in the 70s, meeting all kinds of people in all walks of life around the globe. I think this shaped his love and kindness for others. It's our relationships that matter in this life. My dad had those in spades. His family, friends, on the golf course, or doing any other activity that he enjoyed. My dad was an avid reader and learner. He was always interested in what was going on in the world, past and present, as well as learning, reading anything and everything. I remember my mom once told me she saw my dad thinking about something and assuming it would be something of the day, maybe like what's for dinner, and she asked. He responded with how he thought the world would have evolved if the Mongols weren't killed crossing the ocean to Japan, and if they had made the journey and took over the country. His sharp mind, interest in history, and retainer of facts meant you could come to my dad for anything, and he would have the answer, at least in part. And if there's more to discover, he'd help you learn more about it right then and there. His love for traveling helped shape all of our lives significantly. I'm so thankful for all the places I've got to go. How exploring and learning it can be so much fun. There's so many things to see in this world. And he had a priority not only seeing them, but also to keep traveling in an attempt to never see the sunrise and the sunset in the same place twice.
I wrote a bunch of things down, but we'll see whether or not I stick to them. It's not really my normal modus operandi. But I'm going to need some anchor points, I think. Because I miss my dad. My brothers and I were lucky to have him. Although he misrepresented adulthood a little bit. My whole life, I thought one day you just ended up as smart as him. My parents are very good at parenthood. And it's abundantly clear to me these days how lucky I've been. You know, everybody talks about his intelligence and curiosity. And, you know, I think those are, I mean, he was like a walking encyclopedia. And he never stopped learning. He really valued the process of learning, which I think is something we can all benefit from. As a parent, it can be hard. I'll save you the handkerchief. Yeah. It can be hard as a parent not to correct and over-supervise, and Dad was as bad as anyone for it regarding my golf swing. And for those of you who've seen it, you can appreciate both why and that I maybe didn't listen very well. But he was generally just really good at letting us play and have fun, that learning could be fun. One of his early students in Gibson had a recounting of his first year of teaching. And in her eyes, she'd posed the question, I can't believe he kept teaching afterwards. We were terrible to him. We'd change his equations. We'd move his desks and chairs. When I asked Dad about it, he said, those kids were awesome. They were so engaged. They liked to learn. They asked all these fun questions. They challenged me. He was always such a wealth of information, and I envy the way he understood the world and how it worked. I remember him, he told us that hay bales would catch on fire, that if you cut grass in the rain, that they will light up. It didn't make any sense to me. One day we were driving down the highway, and somebody had baled their wet hay, and they were all wrapped in plastic, and they were all on fire, all across the field. Like, that poor guy, he must have been, whoa. But it didn't make any sense to me. How does water, cold, rain, wet, all of these things lead to fire? And Dad explained. He knew all of the things that were happening, that the fresh cut grass with water trapped in it supports microbe metabolization, and that results in ethanol and oxidization and exothermic reaction. And for those of you who remember, if PV equals nRT, if your bale is tightly packed, pressure builds. When that really hot air escapes and hits oxygen, you've got everything you need for your fire, and it reaches combustion temperatures. And he knew those things. Man. Like curiosity and that drive to learn are things that I will miss immensely about him. He was always very interested in us. And what we were up to. He would ask me questions about what I was learning in university. And he would ask me harder questions than anybody in our class had asked. He would ask me things we hadn't learned. And at times I was like, come on, man, it's a 100-level course, go easy. But it reshaped the way that I thought about these things. It wasn't just information to learn, that the world was interesting, that the world was exciting. And it's a worthwhile way to look at the world. He epitomized a lot of what I think the world should be: curious and loving, open and interested. And I miss you, Dad.
The past little while here, a friend of mine, Jen Harris, said something that really rang true for me. She said, "We need our parents. It's so hard at any age, even when we're adults, to lose them. I hope you just remember those good times you had." So with that, we were all pretty blessed to get a chance to hang out with my dad. My son, Evan, said, "Grandpa is good. Him bites the scabs off my apples so I can eat them." And Nova, he always got the chairs out for the tea party, and he taught me how to play ping pong. And for myself, he taught me to be curious, ask why, say what I mean, do what I say, learn from my mistakes and my observations, apply those lessons every day. Robert Bruce Borthwick was curious, adventurous, intelligent, supportive, loving, and a patient man, and a parent, and a teacher, and an uncle, and a brother, and a husband, and I guess I should have added golfer to the list. He loved traveling and exploring new places, and one of the programs he was eligible for while teaching was to take a portion of his income every 3 or 4 years, or for 3 or 4 years, and then receive it on a year off. And this gave him some time to plan some really great, big, amazing trips. He took us all over the world to see new things, and he kept traveling every year. And he convinced my mom to retire early so they could travel more together, or as much as possible. And I know she's glad she made the choice to do so, even though at the time it was a really difficult one. This is one of my life philosophies: that everyone from as early on as possible should travel, see new places. They're fascinating. Meet new people, learn all the different ways they do the same things you do, to live a happy life. I think that one change to just travel early would have a huge impact on our global community, and it's just by virtue of who he was that I was even exposed to it. He supported my artwork and love of animation my whole life. He and my Uncle Steve inspired the education path I took, which triggered the first part of my career into video games. And when I told him I was going to go to art school, he's like, "Yeah, I always knew it'd be something different for you." I think since he'd graduated years ahead of his class, it was probably really tough for him to see me as just a B-level student along with my actual grade, but he never ever not once said that. In fact, he just told me early on, "Hey, do you see this? This is your report card. It's got 2 sets of letters. These ones are your grades, and these ones are your effort. As long as there's high rating in your effort, I don't care about anything else." And with that said, he just helped me and supported me, and as Richard just said, answered every question I ever had, and celebrated all my successes. He was so surprised at how much he loved teaching, and he was just so good at it. And we were all lucky to grow up with him teaching us things. We didn't really think about it. Now with kids of my own, it's humbling to reflect on. My poor son, excited to go out and play catch with me, and doing a great job throwing the baseball, but not having much fun, and after 20 minutes saying, "Okay, Dad, I think that's enough." And before we got inside, Gran and Gran came up, and he was just lit up to go and play catch with my grandpa. Rob just had a way of finding and keeping the fun, of asking questions and sharing tips that felt a lot more like exploring good ideas to have more fun instead of lectures or rules or things to keep in mind. He just kept it fun the whole time. And it's important to realize you can live a full, caring life with that, just focused on your friends, your family, and the fun together, instead of becoming some old curmudgeon that scrutinizes what everybody else does and compares how they would have done it differently. Although it's safe to ask somebody why they made a choice they did. I was always most proud of my dad when we were out and around town. Inevitably, someone would always stop us. It'd be an old friend to say hello, or someone confirming plans for the week, or an old student. And I love the old students the best because they always told him he was their favorite teacher. And then they'd say hello to the rest of us. And then they'd kind of regale him with some old anecdote and ask him if he remembered. And he always did. And he always remembered their name, too. Although sometimes it was on the car ride home. Yeah. Sorry, I've lost my place. Oh, in fact, many of my friends in the last few days have shared stories about him. They were just from this last year or so, which means they were hanging out with him more recently than they were hanging out with me. And it means that he was still stopping and talking to old students his whole life. And I'm so proud. He was just easy to look up to, and I'm thankful he had such a big impact on so many people's lives, like on all of our lives, and that it was positive. That's so rare and special. What a legacy. I wonder what he taught you. And actually, this is a shameless plug. We've got a signing book in the back and some green Bic pens. If you have a story or an anecdote, please find some time to write it down. Because today, it's super hard to remember, but I want to make sure that we never forget. So if you could just take some time to write in there, we would really appreciate it. So that said, thank you, Dad, for who you were, how you lived, the lives you touched, what you taught us, and all the fun we had together, those good times. And to thank you to all of you for being here to remember this wonderful man. We really appreciate it. Thank you. I think now we're going to watch a 10-minute slideshow that Danica and Melanie have put together. And thanks to the family who's combed through all the photos on it. And then after that, we'll welcome Philip Dobrnig up to just close us out in prayer. Thank you.
get a shiver in the dark. It's raining in the park, but meantime, sound of the river, you stop and you hold everything. A band is blowing Dixie, double fall time. You feel alright when you hear the music ring. Well, now you step inside, but you don't see too many faces. Coming in out of the rain, they hear the jazz go down. Competition in other places, but the horns, they blowing that sound. Way on down south, way on down south, London town. We check out Guitar George, he knows all the chords. But it's strictly rhythm, he doesn't want to make it cry or sing. If then an old guitar is all he can afford, when he gets up under the lights to play his thing. And Harry doesn't mind if he doesn't make the scene. He's got a daytime job, he's doing alright. He can play the honky-tonk like anything, saving it up Friday night with the Sultans, with the Sultans of Swing. Then a crowd of young boys, they're fooling around in the corner, drunk and dressed in their best brown baggies in their platform soles. They don't give a damn about any trumpet playing band. It ain't what they call rock and roll. Then the Sultans, yeah, the Sultans, they play Creole. Creole. Then the man steps right up to the microphone and says at last, just as the time bell rings, good night, now it's time to go home. Then he makes it fast with one more thing. We are the Sultans. We are the Sultans of Swing.
I guess I'm just here to close this out in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we're here before you with the heavy hearts today as we say goodbye to Robert Bruce Borthwick. The reason this day hurts so much is because we loved him so much and he loved us. He loved us as a husband, brother, father, grandfather, co-worker, teacher, uncle, and friend. We're all here because he touched our lives, and now that absence will be felt. Lord, please give us time to grieve. We will not all be able to come to closure at this loss in the same time. Lord, give us the ability to grieve in our own way and in our own time. Please be most with his wife, children, and brothers, where his absence will be hardest felt. As we grieve this loss, Lord, I pray you will also help us celebrate his life, because it was a good life. It was a life that honored you. He lived a life that made ours better with him being in it. He left us better than he found us. He left us with many good memories and experiences. So let us take comfort in the fact that he is with you now. You are the Lord of comfort, and you comfort us in our afflictions so that we might be able to comfort one another. Forever in your hands, amen.
And with that, we now conclude our celebration of life for Robert. I would like to thank you all again for being here, and thanks to the speakers and the others who prepared other tributes. We will now be moving to the reception that's just down the hall, and the family would also like to invite you all to a post-reception gathering at the Salmon Arm Golf Club just off of 97B Highway, where there will be drinks and an opportunity for an open mic if anyone else would like to share a story or memory of their friend Robert Borthwick. You can begin to arrive at the golf club around 4:30 or so. If you're unable to stay for the reception, please help yourself to a little bag of Hawkins cheesies to go. There's quite a few in the reception hall down that way. If I could have the congregation rise, and I will lead the family out first, and please allow the front rows to exit in behind us.